this once and for all. We came to this conclusion that the intention was really to kill on several grounds, and I will explain that in a moment. If Israel had an intention to stop these ships from going and to stop the blockade, they could have done this in many other ways. They did not have to board the ship. They did not have to get onto the ship. The previous attempts which had been made to stop the flotilla was only done by ramming the ship and disabling it so that the ship couldn't sail fast anymore and had to be towed. We asked the captain of the Mavi Marmara, which suffered the most damage, what alternative methods could the Israelis have used to stop these ships. And he said all that they had to do was to shoot the propeller of the ship, and the ship would have been disabled. It would not have been able to sail at all. Then it would have had to be towed. So there was no necessity to actually get on to the ship. So that is one point. The other is that nobody expected the Israelis to board and attack the largest ship with the largest number of passengers. It was totally irresponsible for commandos to come, armed commandos, ready to do battle, to come onto a ship which had 500 passengers, because that would have, the potential for causing injury was so high. In fact, one of the, there were 9 media houses that had been traveling with the flotilla. All of them were not activists. They were there for a story. And one of them that we interviewed several of them, and one of them that we interviewed said that he had expected if they knew the Israelis would stop them or do something. And he said he expected most action to be on the cargo ships, because they would try to stop the humanitarian goods from reaching Gaza. And in fact, he had been on the Mavi Marmara originally, and he transferred himself to a cargo ship because he wanted to see the action. And the action was not so much on the cargo ships, although they boarded all the 6 ships, and they did inflict injury on passengers who were totally passive on those ships. It was only the Mavi Marmara passengers who had some violent resistance. All the other ships, who had like about 20 passengers or 15 passengers, they had strictly adhered to the guidelines given to everybody that the resistance should be peaceful. So nobody had any kind of, even a stick in their hands. And even they had been beaten up. They were shot at. We had interviewed a gentleman who had a bullet going into his arm here and coming out here to the other end and entering his forearm because he was holding a video camera, and they shot him immediately in the arm on one of the other ships which had no violent response of any kind. So they really attacked quite a lot of anybody who had a camera. 2 of the passengers who were killed on the Mavi Marmara, one was a professional cameraman. He was shot between the eyes. The minute they saw him with a camera, close range, the bullet has gone. If you look at the forensic reports, the bullet has gone right between the eyes, horizontal. So he was shot in the face, standing in front of him. It was not from top or by the side or anywhere. And the trajectory of the bullet is horizontal into his brain. And 6 of the deceased, of the 9 who were deceased, our findings based on forensic evidence is that they were victims of summary. 6 of them were victims of summary executions. 2 of them were shot after they were severely injured and could not defend themselves. So there were examples of wanton killing, even after somebody is shot and is down on the ground. One deceased person had what is called a soft baton charge, called a bean bag. I am a pacifist. I have never held a gun in my hand, but I have learned so much about violent killing after this investigation. I've learned about guns, I've learned about ammunition. It is mind-boggling. I don't know if I'm the same person now, because I'm not proud of the knowledge that I have. This soft baton charge is with the use of something called a bean bag, and I don't know if you have heard about it. Do you know what a bean bag is? It's an ammunition. It's like an oval, round oblong thing about this long. It's soft and it is filled with pellets. It is used for crowd control. So if a mob is approaching, riot police shoot from a distance. They shoot the beanbag, and the beanbag just hits people on the body. It doesn't penetrate, and it stuns them, so they cannot move. They won't move forwards anymore. It's just to stop a crowd from advancing. But this beanbag was used again at close quarters. The gun was placed right at the temple of one man, and so the beanbag went right into his brain and shattered inside his brain, and the pellets scattered all over into his brain. It was, even for ballistic experts, this was quite amazing that a beanbag was used at such close quarters for it to penetrate into the brain. And so forensic experts said that this was a discharge into the brain directly, and at a very close range, suggestive of execution type killing. And the same man also had other gunshot wounds, and so there were multiple gunshot wounds on several of them. And so, as I said, two of them were using cameras when they were shot. One of them, you must have read about him, was the 19-year-old young boy. He was just holding he was an amateur. He was not a professional cameraman. He had his own little camera, and he heard the commotion up on the deck, and he ran up to see what was happening and was taking pictures of the soldiers. And he too had multiple gunshot wounds. Within the descent of the soldiers and the capturing of the ship, the surrender of the captain of the ship, this captain had to surrender command of the ship, all took place within about 45 to 47 minutes, when all the damage was done and the injuring and the killing was done. And the Israelis took command of all the ships, and they were all handcuffed, and the ship was sailed by the Israelis to the port of Ashdod in Israel, and this took 8 hours. And during these 8 hours, there was also torture and assault, beating with the butt of the gun, stamping on people, breaking of bones just by stamping on the leg and the arm, twisting the arm until the thumb and the fingers dislocated. So it was very deliberate, wanton killing and injury and shooting. Now, and again, when they disembarked in the port of Ashdod, they were detained for about 2 days, and again there was all kinds of violence that took place and lots of indignities, stripping, cavity search of the individuals, etc., etc. And finally, they were the Europeans there were several Europeans on the ships, Germans, Swedes, Swiss, Belgium, United Kingdom, US. They were not treated to any violence. They were not treated with violence, and even when they reached Israel, they were allowed to see their ambassadors. They had consular services and so on, but all the Arabs and the non-Europeans were the ones subject to all the violence and were refused any access to any consular services as well. Although consular services would not have been possible, I guess, because none of the Arab countries had diplomatic relations in any case. But they were really treated with much violence. Now, the mission therefore found that there was clear, and this is what we stated in our report, there is clear evidence to support prosecutions of the individuals of the army of crimes within the terms of the 4th Geneva Article 147 of the 4th Geneva Convention, and this is willful killing, torture or inhuman treatment, willfully causing great suffering or serious injury to body or health, and also several violations of human rights law, not only humanitarian law, but human rights law under the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, violations of the right to life, violations of the right to be free against torture and other cruel, inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment, right to liberty and security of the person, freedom from arbitrary arrest or detention, and freedom of expression, because all the video equipment, the camera equipment, there was a great deal on the ship was seized, as well as all the video footages and the digital media footages were taken away. Now, this was a serious problem because this was suppression of evidence, because all of these video footages and camera films had evidence of the behavior of the Israelis. So this is not available to anybody. We, the panel, had requested the Israelis, even though they would not cooperate with us, that they should return the video footages, etc., as evidence so that we could study it, because they said that the passengers had not only attacked them, the passengers had even shot them, that there were gunshot wounds of their soldiers. So we asked for the evidence of that, which could have been in the video camera footages. They would not give it. We asked for medical records of the soldiers, so they would have been treated, so we can see whether there were gunshot wounds, but that was not given to us. So we cannot therefore accept their version of the story. Now, I just want to say a few words about the legality of the attack itself. Because Israel says that they are in a situation of conflict with Hamas in Palestine. So there is war, they are saying. And if you are at war, imposing a blockade like this is legal. According to the laws of war, it is legal. And therefore, a warring party can stop anybody trying to break that blockade. In other words, they have the right to enforce the blockade, and they can do this anywhere, even in international waters. Now, that is Israel's stand. But at the same time, what the laws of war are saying, Israel is quoting the laws of war selectively. The laws of war also say, while a blockade may be imposed as an instrument of war, it has to serve a military purpose. And if it causes undue harm and damage to the civilian population where the blockade has been imposed, then the blockade becomes illegal, because it is not, it is disproportionate and is not serving a military objective anymore. If you look at the kind of goods that is banned by Israel as a result of the blockade, they are not banning weapons only, because a blockade is meant to prevent the opponent from having access to weapons and so on. And so it is a military objective. But here the blockade is also banning pasta, chocolates, toys, all sorts of things, which is really to break the spirit of the people of Gaza and impose economic hardship. And therefore, it's no longer a military purpose. And since it is causing disproportionately undue damage and harm to the civilian population,